Sorry we're late. We didn't have a lot of choice about that because of the expulsion hearings that we ran tonight. I am looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
We have an agenda. Thank you. And the minutes. We were sent minutes electronically.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have our minutes. And public participation. Anyone from the public want to talk? Anyone in the room want to talk? And there's nobody out there yet. Okay, so then discussion and next steps. And we are to our community partner update.
Yes, Eileen Marriott, Director of Kids Play. Thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you for indulging us on the delay in getting it started. So you may remember, some of you who have been on this committee for several years may remember that Eileen, I think we're sitting in that same chair in the same room a few years ago. But since that time, there's been a lot of things happening at Kids Play that she's going to share with us. So thanks.
Yes. So, for those of you who weren't in those room for that, but we're in Torrington in 2012 when Kids Play started. You will know it started as very small, very homegrown exhibits, and I don't think anybody thought it would last, to be quite honest. And I think that with a lot of community support and investment, we have now grown to serving or welcoming 55,000 people in the last 12 months. Into the museum, about 30% of that being Torrington kids and families who are coming, whether it's, through a program as visitors, really drawing people both from Torrington to downtown and to do something educational, but also from a much wider community. So really there's been a significant growth both in what we offer in terms of exhibits, but also kind of who we are serving. And I think that's really helped create a really livable, higher quality of life. And, hopefully, while I know more students may not be exactly what the schools want all the time, but really I'm hoping drawing families into Torrington to live, to work, and to participate in community. And so we're really proud of just, those metrics. But we also, over time have really developed a nice relationship with a lot of the school programs and really have tried wherever we can to support the work that you're doing and wherever we can lend expertise, efficiency, and just, like a different a different way of families interacting with the schools. So, some examples of that over the past few years have been, the Meet the Principal nights where families have a chance to not come, kind of interact with the schools after they've registered for kindergarten in a very welcoming kind of casual way, beginning to build conversations, beginning to give teachers and principals, I think, a first look at some of the students sometimes as well, to begin to anticipate what their classes are going to look like. We've had the field trips. We've had some evenings. Last year, one of the things you'll see in our exhibit lineup is an Asian culture exhibit. And last year, we had one class have a family night at the museum, and they were a part of the prototyping process for this Asian culture exhibit with Kids Play. And we actually used feedback from the teachers, the students, the parents to give back to the American Alliance of Museums, the Association of Children's Museums was our partner on this project, and the Freeman Foundation. And they used that feedback to improve the exhibit, make additional copies of the exhibit, which are now in 4 other venues across the United States. And we have gotten back that exhibit with some of their feedback incorporated into it. So your students have been a part of an exhibit prototyping process with us. One of the really amazing collaborations we've been able to do with Joanne and Andrew for the past 3 summers is to bring in some of the EL students for a few weeks of camp. And this is a full day camp, and the children are at Kids Play. That's their home base. These are children who are finishing kindergarten or finishing first grade. And we have, exhibit-based learning. We have a STEM curriculum that is designed to either, with the standards for first grade. So we are either pre-teaching a STEM curriculum or reteaching it, depending on if that child has finished the first grade or is going into first grade. So we're trying to align and really give kids an opportunity to have a little exposure, have a comfortable place where they're building their language skills. We've done some documentation, and we weren't able to get this year I think it was 29 students that we served. Because of some delay, I think we had to cancel our last day of the first session, so we weren't able to get all of the interviews done. But pretty much across the board on all of the standards, on all of the things we measure, which is like their understanding of language, their initiation, the words and stories they're able to identify from the 2 weeks. I believe it was in the pure measurement, we were able to see improvement in 15 out of 16 of those students in a 2-week span. We really are proud of that. And one other thing that's important for us as a part of a cultural district is also bringing the children to all of the different entities downtown. So the Warner, the Historical Society, 5 Points, all of these places that make up their community so that they feel they are a part of it. They have that barrier broken, and they get to be on stage at the Warner as a kindergarten or first grader. They're not doing very much on the stage at that point in an afternoon program, but they're going into the space. They're learning some of the history of the Warner and why it's a community asset. They're walking up to the Historical Society another afternoon, and it may be just for, we'll have one day where it's going through the history museum part of it and learning about kind of how Torrington was built up, and another afternoon listening to a story in the Filer House. So we really do try to expose the kids and help them get to know their community. And we're very proud of that program. In the past 2 years, it has been 2 2-week sessions. So we've been able to serve more, closer to 30 kids. The first year it was just 1 session. A lot of those ways that we can collaborate by using this space as an attractive place for families to gather. We have worked with the schools and the Birth Through Graduation Project to it's Julie Fabiacci's program, where she's recruiting families in the grocery store. She's recruiting families everywhere she sees a family from Torrington, and can start a conversation and invite them in for a program that's based in early literacy, music and movement, and really just building community. So trying to reach families before they interact with the schools. And she's seen a tremendous growth since she moved the program to the Children's Museum. And, I believe she went on vacation. She didn't know if we had secured funding for this year, but she was already had 2 sessions fully booked from now through to Christmas. And we were able to secure some funding for that program to continue. One really exciting thing, and it is sort of related to, I was speaking earlier to the group about growth. We have bought the Salvation Army building in 2019, and it has been a very frustrating process of rehabilitating that space. Not only everything we kind of uncovered that needed to be fixed to make it a healthy family space, but doing so during the slowdown of a pandemic, when sometimes we needed to focus on fundraising to keep our doors open, and other times it was impossible to find contractors. And as you all know, every price quadrupled for anything you needed to get done. But we're coming towards the end of that project and hoping to have that space online. And we have more exhibit space coming online. And then what we are referring to as the hub at Kids Play, which is an area of the museum that will be able to operate independently, that will include the CFLC library and some program space. But to make it so Kids Play can be used as a gathering place, even when we don't want to open up the whole museum and go and have another organization incur the expense of that. With that, we did apply for and are going to receive a significant federal grant to help bring in a variety of partners and kind of build a space, kind of leverage Kids Play as a place where families are naturally drawn to and can learn about all of the organizations that exist in their community, and have a place where they can find out about those organizations. And, we have a very unique partnership, and, something I think that as organizations, entities, and individuals, we should be very proud of. And I'm really, just happy to give you an update and to take any questions you may have.
Questions? I know when I go to the early Head Start Policy Council meetings, nothing but good comments from the parents here involving that community as well. It's just such a pleasure to hear about what's going on there for them.
Yeah, one of the other things we've really worked with the schools on as a sort of a part of the CFLC and the other organizations is a variety of access programs. So those might be community memberships, which are totally free to families, but, is giving families that aren't sending their children to preschool, or maybe they are and they don't have anything really to do on the weekends for enrichment, giving them a free membership to come to the museum. We do participate in Museums for All, which is a federal program, which offers $2 admission to anyone who has a SNAP card. We've extended that locally to WIC so that we can encourage families that don't have documentation to come to the museum, because we know that's where they're going to be interacting with English speaking, both parents interacting with our English speaking staff, but other children. And we have some memberships that are associated with that as well. So really looking at the number of people we serve in Torrington is we're looking at a more fragile population there. And I really think those are the kids who really need something else and something different. They may not go to the Science Center. As a child, I went to Boston Children's Museum. It's probably not something that's happening for a lot of families who don't have access to transportation and being able to pay admission to a lot of places as well. Thank you.
Anyone else?
We just have your email. I don't see it.
Oh, yes, it's director at kidsplaymuseum.org.
Okay. Thank you.
Really great work you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Thank you. We really appreciate the collaboration and the strength. I think that it really kind of is given into our community, and we have a lot of great things that are still, very possible. So thank you all.
Thank you for coming and thanks for reading.
Great. Joanne, did you?
Well, I just wanted to pipe in because it's a gem and a treasure in our city. And what you've done and your staff has done to develop it is just really amazing. And I did just want to share that I didn't go this summer, but last summer I went, and this camp group of little English learners was spending a session at the Nutmeg the day I went to visit, and to see these little kids, taking the pose and following directions and skipping across the room. And it was under Victoria, right? Victoria's.
Yes, yeah. Victoria teaches when the campers come, they are not getting the entry level teacher. Right. Victoria is teaching that class.
It's just so powerful and so moving. Thank you.
Great.
Very happy.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
it's great. Thank you so much, Eileen.
Well, thank you, Sue, for the invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a big agenda, so thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Good night. Okay, so we spent how much money on the reading program last year?
More than you realize.
More than we read. Yeah. And now we're gonna hear how we're going so far, right, Dr. Deacon?
Yes,
Yes.
no, please, Andrew and Joanne and Marianne and Sandy and Laura and anybody in the room who is, involved in this rollout and all of this excitement, and Ally put together. So, and thank you to the principals of the elementary schools. I have to shout out to them. I'm very, they supplied us with some photographs. We have a little short video also, so you can actually see your dollars in action. I think if, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So maybe if we take a look at that, and then we can just kind of ping pong around the room and give you some highlights. It's been very exciting. The first month of school has been an introductory unit to the resource, which is really about establishing routines and procedures in every grade level, which has been very successful. It's been very powerful. Andrew sent out a survey to the folks, getting some feedback from all those teachers, about the pacing and about the resource itself and what do teachers need. And the beauty from my perspective about this is that we are all learners in this, regardless of what the role. So if I'm a teacher, an administrator, a paraeducator, an EL teacher, a special ed teacher, we are all in this together. We're linking arms and we're figuring it out together. So that's created a camaraderie, which is wonderful. So Ally, if you could tee up your artwork, that would be helpful. No, go ahead. I'm gonna Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I think what's really needs to be, so just a reminder, I think we did this before, that this curriculum spirals, right? The program spirals. So regardless of your grade level, whether you're a kindergartner or fourth grader or fifth grader, you might have seen cultivating natural resources. So that's going to be studied at the same time at every grade level, so that siblings or friends can be having that conversation across grade levels, which is really powerful. I think you probably saw things like similes and metaphors in elementary school. So there's a level of sophistication that, although this program, it's predicated on the science of reading. So we're dealing with, you saw that chart, hop, pop, stop, right? But we're talking about really sophisticated things too at the same time. So it's very comprehensive. It's our launch year, it's our maiden voyage with it. So there's some growing pains and we're trying to work those things out. Sandy came a little early this afternoon to meet with Andrew and me to say, okay, here's some feedback and, what can we do to massage this? And, so we're working through it like that. But Andrew and others who are here, who are intimately involved, please jump in and share your perspectives.
I think the starting out unit, the review and routines really gave the opportunity to build that culture of school without having the pressure of, I need to be doing this lesson on this day. There's a lot of flexibility built into that, and we're great routines for kids to get started with. They like the materials. We have just started Unit 1 today. They got to use their reading and writing books that they can actually write in for the first time. You would have thought you handed them gold. It's like this is mine. I get to write in it. When we're all done at the end of the unit, you get to take it home. So it really, many of the materials are very, very engaging for students. So it is our launch year, and we are growing through some pains, but we're figuring it out, and we're figuring out the technology piece and how to use those components, which actually are really valuable too, and integrate a lot of different resources. So it's good.
Andrew, do you want us to share some of the highlights that you received from people?
I sure. Before I do that, however, though, I just wanted to point out one thing that stuck out at me when I was watching that video is you couldn't decipher between general ed, special education groups, intervention groups, English learner groups. They were all focused there, but they were all, I think the one big thing that we've been talking about is the coherence that's happening across all domains, that we are finally connecting the content knowledge as well as the word recognition skills across everywhere in the building. And it's really exciting to see that all teachers are speaking the same language, even though they may be presenting ideas, concepts in a little bit of a different way. So that the material is properly differentiated for our various learners. So that stuck out to me, knowing those teachers and students, and I really wanted to highlight that. But as Sue mentioned, I did send out a survey to our staff at the end of this first unit to just get their feedback. To see in terms of, do they feel like they have everything they need? Do they have enough? Do they feel like they needed extra days or not, or extra time? All of those kinds of things. So actually our K2 survey just closed at 4 p.m. today. So we have to have the chance to go through that and get some of the feedback. But some of the early things was a lot of chatter about collaboration and how much the teachers are really enjoying the opportunity to collaborate with one another to plan. Other things that came up were how easy it is to go through some of the printed materials. Some of them a little more challenging than others.
One thing that I noticed from our
Yeah,
preliminary feedback, Andrew, was that the explicit instruction of the routines, while, you know, teachers have always done a good job about doing that and teaching those routines for the first few weeks of school. Now they have an actual resource to like wrap their arms around, right? And it takes them through. So
yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly.
helpful.
Very deliberate. Whereas I recall being in the classroom. I just felt like I had to get right to the content and right to the material. But we know how critical it is to establish those routines, and this program really did a nice job of doing that. So I think it really, hopefully, will set our students up for success for the rest of the year. So it's a little different now that we're in Unit 1, right? We're actually diving into the content and working with that. So we will continue to survey the teachers, get their feedback, and continue to make plans for how we move forward for the year.
And then also all of our professional learning time is dedicated to this, right? To the literacy initiative.
Yeah.
So the early release days are designated for that, election day, the day in February. So it's all very, very thoughtful and
Yeah.
intentional.
And to piggyback on that, our rep at Benchmark has been phenomenal because she said to me, well, what are your topics going to be? Which PD do you want to do this year? And I said, I don't know. It's not up to me. It's up to the teachers. And so I listed all of the potential topics in the survey, and the ones that came out on top are the ones that Benchmark is going to deliver to our teachers. So it's really based on what they are telling us that they need and want. I can't decide that for them. They're living it. They know what they need. And so this feedback is really crucial to that. So really exciting, really, really exciting.
Very good. Thank you. We have time for one or two questions, if anyone has one. I have one. No one else does. So the older kids are committed to the old program or have been in the old program for a long time. Is there a difference between the way older kids are receiving this program and younger kids? Or receptivity, I guess I should have.
We actually just talked about that.
Yeah, it's a logical question.
Yeah, it's a great question. What we've noticed is some of our upper level teachers, 4th and 5th grade teachers, they are having to take that additional time that we've built in for them this year to backfill some of those skills that perhaps they didn't have. Sue had talked about the complexity of the program and teaching at grade level and ensuring we are meeting those grade level standards. So there is a lot of work we need to do because now we have this great, as she says, it scaffolds across the grade levels. So there is some work that needs to be done. One thing in particular that has been noticed is the content. That's a little challenging for students who may not have the background knowledge and say, for example, Unit 1 is life science. They might not have exposure to various topics, concepts, key ideas, vocabulary. So that's going to take some time to build for these students. So that's really the challenge, is that content piece, which aligns with a lot of what we hear out in the world. There was this great book I read, The Knowledge Gap, which is all about that. You know, our students don't have opportunities to build their background knowledge like, say, when we were growing up, for example. So this program is really doing that, and we're noticing our students don't have that. So we need to do a lot of work around that to build that.
Thank you. Other questions? Jeff, quick question.
Quick question.
Quick.
Very quick, Jeff. How do the classes progress? I mean, you said they're all supposed to go at a similar pace, but what happens in those classes? And does it start to split apart and do they end up ahead of each other? How do you keep that cohesion, that spiral as you talked about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something that we're talking about quite a bit. We have built in extra days for each unit so that teachers can get through. So if teachers do get through within 15 days, but we've allotted 20, there are opportunities for enrichment, for example. Or if teachers need that extra time to get through some of the lessons, they are. They also have an opportunity to collaborate with a coach. Should they say, oh, I need like 22 days versus 20? Well, what are the most essential things that they need to get through so that we can try our best to keep people around, similar amount of time. I will say, units are written for 15 days. This first part of the year, we're giving teachers 20 days. We just know they need the extra time. We believe that. And the survey indicated that they felt 20 days was a good amount of time. And we actually haven't made a decision yet, moving beyond into trimester 2, if we're going to stick with 20 days or 15 days. They're written for 15 days, but the first year they may need the extra time. Again, that's all going to come from the teachers and what they need. So we're going to make those big decisions once we get the feedback from the teachers and what they feel they need, because the last thing we want to do is burden them and our students at the same time.
I can add to that grade 4 level at our weekly grade level meetings. That's a great opportunity with that comment plan time. You sit down with the whole grade and they're talking to each other as colleagues. What's happening in your room? What are you doing? It's really a great time to brainstorm and talk about, how much extra time they need and something, which kids got this knowledge, which kids took things so literally. Like when we were doing the corn unit, one of the kids didn't get our Friday morning joke because we talked about ears of corn and they were looking for ears on corn. So we had to work with that child. It was really a lot of fun. They didn't like my Friday morning joke though. But the teachers work so well trying to bounce this off of each other, and it really helps. They have onus to this.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready to move on unless there's some serious reason not to. Tag update.
Okay, so our testing is about 95% complete. We have a few kids at the middle school still that have to be done. Right now, we have 40 students who have qualified, which I'm pretty pleased with. We've come a long way from where we started. So Paulina is hysterical. She is so itching to get going. When can I start? When can I start? So what we're going to do, I asked her if she wanted to move up the parent informational. She doesn't. We already started to let parents know they have it on the calendar, so we don't want to change it. But the plan is PPTs are now being scheduled. It'll be group PPTs for the new students that are qualifying. And then they will sign their contract at that time, both the parent and the child agreeing to sticking to the demands of TAG, knowing it is an optional, not mandated program, and you need to live up to the expectations if you would like to participate. So they'll be signing that. And then Paulina hopes to begin on the 16th, which is a little bit earlier than we thought originally. Her first plan is to do kind of like an interest inventory with them, because their interests are going to really drive where their personal projects are aimed. So she's going to do that, do some icebreaker stuff, get to know each other a little bit. And then our parent informational is the evening of the 24th at 6 o'clock. So then we will really go through everything with the parents, all the curriculum, what the progress reports are going to look like and everything. So we're getting there. Her schedule, she's worked with the principals and she knows when she will be at each of the 3 schools. So we're ready to go.
Questions, comments about tag?
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
I know.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, Alliance update.
So last Thursday was the state-sponsored Alliance District Symposium. It was held in Rocky Hill. Michael and I attended. It was the morning of last Thursday. And we had an update on the EdSite dashboard and all of the new features of the EdSite dashboard, which is essentially the State Department's data warehousing platform and all the bells and whistles and things that they have done. We also, the most interesting part of this morning for me was a presentation by a woman named Laura Stefan, who is the Chief of Staff for the State Department of Education. Her role is to be the eyes and the ears of the legislature and to report back to the State Department of Education about what's happening and what's coming. It was fascinating. She spent about 40 minutes. She was very funny and she was very, very real. And she just put it out there. It was kind of like Law 101, Ed Law 101 for dummies, if you will. I mean, she just took us through it and it was fascinating to listen to her. And we got some really good ideas. I did. Michael knew all of that. I didn't. And then there was also a speaker on, the chief academic officer spoke to us about the State Department's, you'll all be thrilled to hear this, the State Department's model curricula. and what's available on the State Department website for districts to take advantage of. They've now posted just about every core content area through grade 8. So we got a peek at some of those documents. That was really it. That's really, we have our alliance liaison, Greg Dresco, wants to, we thought we were going to be meeting with him at the beginning of November, but he wants to push it off to December. And when he comes to Torrington, he wants to bring a couple of the folks from the data department to work with. I haven't even had a chance to tell our department. It's kind of exciting. They're going to come and PD us on really how to dive deeper into the EdSite platform, which will be amazing. So that's what I know. That's what I can share about Alliance.
Thank you. Now, we post all of our meetings. Is this meeting posted any place, or was CTN there to record it? Because it sounds like something that we could get a lot out of. Probably not.
I don't know. I didn't see anybody recording it.
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
No.
Questions? Anyone have questions for Sue? Thank you. That was a real update.
You're welcome.
You know, you usually hear the meeting is scheduled for or whatever.
Yeah.
This is.
I gave you a real update. I mean, we really had some meat and potatoes this time. Twice a year, they host these symposiums. There's one in the fall, one in the fall. This happened to be one that I found worthwhile.
Thank you. Thank you. Meeting locations. We deferred this.
Yes, you gave me an assignment last time.
Okay, your assignment was to we're going to survey people and see what they.
And I did.
What did they say?
And the principals pretty much overwhelmingly would prefer to take a turn hosting at their schools. They're very proud to have everyone visit their schools and to show off what their schools look like and what's happening. And you can kind of get a feel by coming through each building. They were also more than happy to produce a little photo gallery also of what's happening in the buildings at each month. Did I get that right? I think, yeah, that's pretty much sums up what.
Okay, and that reinforces the impression I think we've always had that the principals are happy to have us there and show off the buildings and the programs.
They really want to. The one drawback we had said was the IT, but I haven't had a chance to talk to Allie.
Oh, Allie's tough. She can deal with it.
Yeah. We might be able to make sure we have the equipment that we need in every building so that the technician doesn't have to be schlepping.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, well, committee, it sounds like the decision's been made for us. So now it's just a matter of setting up a schedule, and we have always we've gone up the grade levels, starting with Torrington, Vogel, Wetmore, Southwestern Forbes, high school, middle school, and taking off a couple of the real winter months, like the January and February meeting here, just because disruptions to the schedule are more common then. So that sound good, committee?
Yes.
Okay, that was quick. Thank you very much. You made our job very easy, and the principals did too. Please extend that we appreciate their positive response to our invasion.
Absolutely. They're very happy to. Nobody wanted to give it up.
Good, I'm happy about that. Okay. I'm gonna move item F, prioritize topics for future meetings to the next meeting. With just the reminder that these things actually can be useful. We had social promotion on this list for a long time, and policy did something about that, and that's now implemented. But so we will talk about that next time, but not this time. So I guess we're to comments for the good of the order. Marissa, I'm going to start with you. So
Great meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work.
Great meeting. I loved hearing more about kids, but I also, it's a gem.
Great meeting. I also just want to extend our condolences to Attorney Michelle's family.
Yeah.
And Attorney Michelle was always very good to all of us and fair. His daughter is a very critical member of the building committee. So very sad for the loss and wishing their family well.
Many contributions over the years.
Yeah.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you. I loved hearing about the reading program and seeing the video. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Right, right. Sandy, before I get back. to
I'm all
you.
set, thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Buchanan.
All set.
Okay, Joanne.
Great meeting.
Ally.
Good meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew. Thank you for being here. Patrick.
Good meeting, another month.
Great meeting. I love hearing all the positive things and the excitement in everyone's presentations. So it's great. Thank you.
Thanks for the hard work and the reading program update was much appreciated. Thank you.
That was it.
That's it.
Thank you. And I have a couple things. One is I went to the Harvest Fair at the high school this past weekend. Great event, great event. That's publicity too. I've seen it a couple places. That's a good thing. Ed Advance annual meeting for any, and we're all invited, 4:30 tomorrow. Great spread there. It's been a great spread for hors and snack things. And the meeting is blessedly short, probably half an hour. And it's really just to adopt the budget in your office, chance to see the place and see people if you want. The other thing, and Sandy, would you please help me with this? The obit was in the paper this week. Joe Marquis taught
Marquis.
many years at Warringford School, and Sandy, you taught with him. Would you care to say a word or two?
I did teach with Joe in my first 2 years because I am that old, John. This is year 35 for me. So when I taught at Torrington, Joe taught fourth grade. He was a great man. Children loved him. Really, really good teacher. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of
so
the
surprised to see that.
rare commodity still of the male lower grade teachers. It's so good to have them there for that. So I guess that's it, which means I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. If someone will please make it.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay.
I texted.
I'd like to call this order of the policy committee meeting at 7:22. Roll call, Marissa, on that. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy and John, any? Nothing? Okay, for unanimous. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy and John, looking to. On favor.
Aye.
Public participation. None. Anyone? Okay, discussion and next steps.
Okay. I'm going to ask your indulgence. I'm doing this flying solo without my sidekick, Kim, who's really kind of the brains behind all of this. Kim is at a conference. She's actually receiving an award on behalf of the district for our diversity recruitment efforts. And she's out in California being honored, and Torrington's up in lights. And so we're very proud of that. Yeah. Yeah. So I said, you sure don't have a policy instead?
You're back.
Exactly. She was like, I think you got this. So anyway, 6,000 series. So we were looking at the crosswalk. Also at our last meeting, one of the topics for future meetings that did come up was grading. I just want to be clear. So we have not had a grading policy per se. We have only had a policy that deals with weighted grading and how those grades are calculated. And that is because that is what is available in the Shipman model policy manual. Shipman does not have a model policy around grading on a K-12, sort of from a K-12 through a K-12 lens. So our policy that you see in the packet, which is very short, right? Weighted grading, policy number 6111 is just, that's it. That little paragraph that essentially says that we apply different weights to different types of coursework.
Last year, Shipman came out with a new policy to address weighted grading because there was a program that was introduced at the state level, which I will explain in just a moment. So it was really to embed and to address this Connecticut automatic admissions program, which I can explain in just a second. So what you have is our suggestion, our recommendation is that we will replace our current 6111 with what you have in front of you. And what you have in the packet is exactly as it appears in the Shipman Policy Index. The one I just gave you with the yellow and red highlighting is what I have done. I went through, I met with Michael, Kim weighed in. The yellow highlights in this, you'll see the optional language. In red, include it, don't include it with some of the strikeouts that I've done, and we can walk through it if you'd like. I just want to talk for a minute really briefly about this Connecticut automatic admissions program. And I have something that you can take home. Yeah, just so that you can read it again. It's a little bit, so basically what happened in 2021 during the special session of the Connecticut legislature, put into Public Act 21-2, the Connecticut university system, so Central, Eastern, Southern, Western, they have this program now where public high schools in Connecticut make available to them class ranking and grade point averages for students. And all students who are ranked and meet the criteria, which is explained in this handout, at the 70th percentile or above, are automatically submitted to the state university system, and they receive an they're like, it's like an automatic admissions to one of the state colleges. So whether they want to go there or not, they are sent into this portal. They have the opportunity to then, let's say I want to apply to the music department. Once I get my automatic admissions, it cuts down on the cost to the family for the application. I can then fine tune my application. So it's just this automatic service that is done. And it needed to be included in the weighted grading policy. So that's number one, calculation of grade point average and class rank for purposes of that. So it's anyone in the 70th percentile
And above.
and above.
So the top 30th percent.
Yeah.
Right.
Statewide or school-wide? Top 70 based on your.
Of your high school.
Of your-
So at our
Based
high
on the
school.
school. Okay.
Yes.
It's not a state average, it's based on where you're at.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's number one. And then Roman numeral 2 is calculation of grade point averages for all other purposes. So if we look at, let's go back to number 1. So basically, the verbiage under Roman numeral 1 just says what I just told you. It gives you, the Board of Regents, the little bit of history. I gave you the FAQs. Down below, we believe, Michael and I believe, that we should not publish and make public our class ranking, that we should include this optional language, that we don't post outside the guidance office a list of all the kids and where they rank, right? Like that's.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, so we're just saying we would like to include the optional language here to say that
Okay.
we shall not publish.
You want to include it, John? What are your feelings on this?
I think that we should not be publishing.
Okay.
We don't even publish an honor roll anymore, because it got too big, but
Oh, they do.
Yeah, we
They
do.
do.
we publish, it's not in the newspaper.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we do.
Which newspapers? I don't see it.
Republican, I've seen it, Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's every every semester.
we
is it? I mean,
submit it
sometimes
to them, whether they run it or not. I,
Right,
you know,
right.
every time, but we do provide it, but,
Yeah.
but,
I
you
still
know.
don't think we should be
No, I don't
publishing it.
either.
publishing the ranks.
What do you think,
I
Clark?
agree.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so that's a yay, okay. And then for all other purposes, so the board must select one of the following options. So option one, we believe that option one is preferred. With some of the strikeouts, basically what
Which is this option one?
Some of that.
No,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
This is for other purposes.
Where is,
This
oh,
is
option
under-
one is this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got it,
Yep.
yes.
Option one, so the board believes, that due to rigorous nature of certain classes, and it says, and programs. Honestly, at this point, we have classes and courses. We don't have specific programs such as International Baccalaureate or this Cambridge International program. We don't have those programs in our school. We're not an IB school. We're not an International Baccalaureate school. So I would recommend that we strike and programs for now. If at some point in time we end up, implementing a specific program, we could always add that language. And it just basically says deserve additional weight for purposes of calculating, dual enrollment. It sort of outlines. We do have dual enrollment courses. We have dual credit. We have early college courses. We have the AP courses. It just basically delineates that.
Would this have any bearing on when we go to the,
Pathways?
yes? Are they still considered classes?
Yes.
Like if they get a certificate in something, it's still a class?
It's still a class
Okay.
because the
It's
class
not
is,
considered a program?
no,
Okay.
no, these are actual, like an IB is, there are certain schools that are like.
An
internet-
actual,
Mhm.
statewide?
Yes, it's recognized as a
Recognized
specific
program. Okay,
program, like a
gotcha.
trademarked program.
Okay.
Yes. So if we go with option one, then that automatically does away with option two,
Mhm.
right? Because we wouldn't do that anyway. We're not going to prohibit using weighted grading. I think the board agrees that
Mhm.
certain coursework deserves heavier weighting, right?
Yeah.
And then for all purposes other than, and then you'll see in the original, it says you must in your policy include here, which I've done, how the weighted gradings are determined. So this language explains all of that.
And that's what we do now?
That's what we do.
We've always done it that way.
Always done it that way. Yes.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
It's very clear.
Mark, anything?
Very clear.
Right? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, and just so you know that this automatic admissions, if you want more information on that, I can get some more from our guidance office. Our guidance counselors were all trained in it a year ago. They
Okay.
understand it. They know what they have to do. They've got the timelines. Brian Scott was trained.
Do the students know ahead of time? If they're in the 70th percentile?
Students, so meet with their guidance counselors.
So
and
they know as they go
know
along.
what their
Okay.
class rank is.
Right,
They
right.
can share that with their families, but it's not something that
No,
anybody
But I
knows.
mean, so that they know what to drive for. Do you know what I mean? So that.
It's an irrelevant question, Bob. If they have this automatic process,
Mhm.
would the kids still be required to pay an admission or the application?
The application fee, I don't think so.
Because, well, you're right.
Right.
You don't have to do any work.
I think that was the sort of the impetus behind it. It was really obviously to recruit, right? To the state university
Right.
system. Yeah. Yeah.
It also, I think, had to do with the way they're integrating the entire community college system into
They're all-
everything
Yeah.
below, wrong word, but other than the University of Connecticut, the state college, state university system, and the community colleges are now a lot closer together than they've ever been.
Yes. And UConn, I'm glad you mentioned that. UConn is not part of
Right,
this at
UConn
all.
is.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the community colleges.
Well, no, it's the state
And the
university.
state university,
So
right.
central,
Western.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so that's that one. The next one
So we're in agreement, we'll send this to the board. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, to full board. You got that, Marissa?
Yeah, with everything that you.
With the suggestions for edits,
Correct.
right?
And,
Okay.
and it'll have the same number.
Yep,
correct.
6111. It'll just
Okay.
replace. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. The next one, I did the same thing. I took the liberty of just going in and doing some striking, and I just wanted in the packet that Marissa posted at the very back of the packet, I did include the language in the statute that is the reason for this policy.
Yes.
I think at a sick meeting a couple of years ago, a board member made mention, the very last,
She sent me the red.
yeah, sorry,
Oh, there it
that
is.
one. So it is now in statute that beginning no later than July of a year ago, so we're actually a little behind the 8 ball on this, that every local board of ed adopt a policy that ensures that all students are able to access rigorous coursework, meaning AP coursework, PCE coursework, all of the stuff we just talked about that receives weighted grade, and challenging curriculum. So be enrolled in honors courses, be enrolled in some of these higher level courses, regardless of prior academic performance. The law states that there are many different avenues through which a student should be able to appeal to the administration to be admitted to a course, an honors course, for example. Parents should be able to come in and schedule a meeting and say, I'd like my child to be considered for XYZ class. In the past, it's always been based strictly on
Great.
teacher and grades, right?
So
This
how
is
is,
part of that access for all.
how is that going to be communicated though to like the parent and the student that they can appeal or?
Well, the first step is to address it through policy.
Right.
And then make this policy known,
Okay.
right?
And then the
Similar to
guidance
what we-
counselors can
Yes.
like reiterate it
Yes.
and follow through whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and it's similar to what we talked about last month with the social promotion. I
Mhm.
mean, we're getting the word out
Yeah.
on
okay.
that. So
I do have a question in the first paragraph. The second line, it says to enroll in advanced course or program.
yeah, I forgot that. Sorry, good
So we
catch.
can take
So we'll
out or
get or
program.
program, strike or program.
Okay.
Yes. So now it's in accordance with Connecticut law, explains the manner in which. So again, if you keep going down the page, we don't have any international baccalaureate. We're not a Cambridge International, so we would strike those. So
Okay.
it just defines what that means. The dual credit, dual enrollment, we do have that. That's struck Cambridge, struck IB. Prior academic performance means the course or courses that a student has taken. Now, if you go next under Roman numeral 2, eligibility criteria. So Michael and I talked about this. Consistent with state law, the district will identify students in grades 8 and 9 who may be eligible. And Michael and I would recommend, and he seemed to think that this was a legally sound thing to do, that we recommend students in grade 9 and not start recommending students in 8th grade, because you're not going to have a 9th grader take an AP course typically, is what our conversation was. That we would focus on our. Go ahead.
Well, that's quite a your turn.
So the optional, right? Students will be eligible to enroll in advanced courses or programs throughout their high school career, even if they are not identified as eligible in grade 9. So in other
In grade
words, well,
No, you want 9.
I meant to strike a,
Should be
I
a
meant
line.
there should be a line through it.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I guess what that means is if I'm a 10th grader or an 11th grader, and I haven't up until that point been labeled as an honors student, I still should have the ability to take an honors course, to take an AP course. I should have the ability to advocate for that.
And if there's an 8th grader who's wanted an AP class, there's no 9th grader that has AP classes?
Do we even offer them?
I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. Do we offer
That's where you were going.
Well, not,
AP in 9th grade?
no, that's why we thought
We
that
don't.
this was correct. Correct.
That was gonna be my question.
So what about a child?
I mean, it would be
who's-
highly unlikely for a 9th grader to be in.
Right, but now we're doing the tag and everything, right? So what
Yeah.
if an 8th grader was, I don't know, exceptional?
Yep.
And they wanted to do, because they're far more advanced, and in 9th grade, they wanted to do an AP class.
So you know what, we've certainly had students along the way, not many, but that's a good point. I mean, we could leave 8 or 9 in, knowing that we probably from year to year are not going to really be tapping too many 8th graders.
Well, right.
But we
right.
could if we
Or if
had
the parent, you know,
We have,
suggests.
I'm sorry. We have
Okay.
had a couple of 8th graders take 9th grade stuff.
9th grade AP.
They've taken 9th grade courses. We've had a couple of 8th graders.
Within the 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's not what this is.
But,
Yeah.
but what,
Yeah.
right, but what I'm asking is from 8th grade, if they go into the high school. If they've already had 9th grade, can they take an AP, or would they be in an AP class with a 10th grader?
Nah, if they could.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, they would.
Okay,
So, which is fine, but, and this doesn't, if we could leave 8 or 9, it doesn't preclude us from doing that.
right,
We
but does it
could.
prevent us if we don't say 8? That's what I'm
That's a good point.
asking.
I want to just point out that we in 2 years have a
Right.
total paradigm shift of availability. Right now, giving an 8th grader who's exceptional, the opportunity to take a 9th grade course is very difficult. In about 2 years, it's going to be very easy.
Mhm.
So that the opportunity for it to occur probably is much easier and much more likely. An 8th grader takes, I mean, there are, we do 8th grade algebra now. You have kids in math class getting ahead. If you have exceptionally bright students. And we built this big facility to
Mhm.
offer that collaboration, walk down the hall and cross the building to do it. And then, I don't know, I guess, what's the downside to leaving 8?
There really is none. This just says we would identify those students, and we certainly can. We can.
If we don't put it in there, can they ask still? If it doesn't say 8th, can they, do they still have the right
Right,
to
that's
ask?
what, that's.
Yeah, why
that's
wouldn't
the
they be
question.
able to?
No,
Yeah,
I
they-
think
they'd
you're
be able
right. I
to.
think we should just then leave it. You know, Michael and I were just kind of tossing this around and saying, well, what's the likelihood? Not really, but you're right.
100%.
You raise a good point.
Yes.
So we could leave the 8 or 9.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I think I'm hearing you wrong. You're saying that if we don't say 8th and somebody came down and said, my kid is really whatever, we could still make.
Well, I don't think you can.
we wouldn't be able
No,
to.
we wouldn't be
if
able
it
to.
didn't say
Out.
8.
That's why I'm
Well, I
asking.
think we probably could, but we wouldn't have to, right?
That's,
We wouldn't
Right.
have to, but
Oh, I
that's the
see.
nicer, I think that.
I'm with you. I thought. this
So
was
that's what we do
precluded
now.
someday. But we don't have a policy now.
we don't have.
We don't have.
But we,
But you put 8th graders in
They-
higher level class.
They don't really, because it's hard to do. It would be hard to do.
but we have,
But you have a 9th
Yeah.
grader.
We provided that transportation.
and we
Yes.
transport kids to that.
We've
school.
done it very, very
And,
rarely.
and last year, we had a 7th grade student taking 8th grade math, and
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing this year. I could ask him tomorrow, but I think there's accommodations being made for at least one 8th
Right,
grader.
right,
Yes.
there's exception. I just
There's
don't want it
exceptions.
to be,
Yes.
so it can't.
Yep.
So it excludes anyone.
So then let's leave it in.
With your edits as you presented, does that still give you the flexibility to do just that? Or if you make the edits as suggested, we can no longer make that a policy exception for an 8th grader who's exceptionally bright? They're in the same building, we give them an honors or an honors level course.
No, I think
We're not saying we can't do it.
Right.
correct. Correct.
We're just saying ninth grade, we're specifically saying we will look at
Automatically
that
look at it.
possibility. I don't
Correct.
say we
Either way.
can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to I was misunderstanding if this meant you're boxed in.
So
If
you,
this is just the automatic kicker that we're going to look for these opportunities when you're in ninth grade.
This policy is about really ensuring that districts identify. So, we were looking sort of blanketly across the board. Think about it as, what Laura's doing with the tag. They're identifying across grade levels. I mean, you're talking about kids and I'm thinking of those same kids. There's one or two kids that
Yeah, we-
bubble up and we would
yeah,
always
sure.
accommodate those kids.
so
but-
that, so you can do that. This says you will in
Correct.
ninth
Right,
grade,
That's
but you don't
That's the
have to in eighth
It makes,
grade.
it makes
Right.
the box a lot smaller.
Mhm.
my best
Okay.
understanding.
Yeah.
Mine too.
I-
So I
No,
said
I
you take
probably
out
wasn't
eight.
clear.
No, no.
You got it.
We got it
You're right.
Okay,
eventually.
all right.
We're learners too.
Now, eligibility for enrollment, this is where it gets a little dodgy. Eligibility for
So-
enrollment
So
in,
taken out program.
yep.
Yeah.
Yes, good, Ellen.
Yeah, there's another one on the first page.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Eligibility and enrollment in one of these higher level courses is not based exclusively anymore on the student's prior academic performance. There are multiple methods by which a student may satisfy this criteria for enrollment, including these bullets, right? The first one, recommendations from teachers, admin, school counselors, or other, which has historically been the only path, okay?
Yeah.
The second bullet, a student's prior academic performance as determined by evidence-based indicators, grades of how a student will perform in an advanced course. We can get rid of program. So we would suggest that we leave option A as a bullet,
Mhm,
as a means by which, right?
mhm.
The third bullet. The district administration may in its discretion identify and publicize additional criteria, including but not limited to meetings with students and or parents who request course eligibility. Any such criteria prior to the commencement of a term, because it's written into the law that must be.
Mhm.
We have to, honor
Mhm.
that. Okay,
Okay, yeah.
You retain the right to say no, though.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we just have to
Listen.
listen, correct.
What do you think,
yeah, think, yeah.
John?
What do you think?
What do you think?
I think that the state law says we have to do it, expand eligibility. They've gone through this. A lot of it is based on identification of certain groups as being less able than others in some schools. I don't think we've ever done that. But I think some people have accused some school systems of doing that.
Correct.
So this will just make it very clear that we are willing to entertain any desire to take an advanced placement.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly right. The rest of it is pretty much boilerplate, we do this, we have academic plans for our
There's
kids.
another program. Are you gonna go through it and take
Yeah.
out all the
Yep.
programs? Okay, good.
Yep, we're gonna take out all the programs. Guiding principles, I believe, and I didn't highlight that one, I'm sorry, on the back, guiding principles and implementation. I kind of liked that optional language. Because I think it encourages every level to engage the family,
I think
right,
so.
in the child's success plan.
It's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll just tell him I passed.
You can. She had all the fun, but you can.
That's right. So yeah, just these two for now. That was
So
easy.
It feels
Bring it
like
to
they
the
give you a lot of
boards.
wiggle room with that.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case. It's not-
Right.
We shouldn't have gone.
Topic for future meetings. Still going through the process.
Yes, so going through the process. We are trying to line up, our next community partner will not be until the December meeting, which is at the end of November. But they actually wanted to be involved in the wellness policy, the design of our wellness policy. They wanted input, so it turns out that they come on that night for school improvement.
And stay for policy.
They might not stay for policy, but
We can-
if they provided their input, then we will make sure that wellness gets on that agenda too, because it would
Okay.
kind of fit with the theme of the night.
Okay,
At our current pace, when will we finish the crosswalk?
Oh,
it's never finished.
2137.
to be honest with you, that's an interesting question because I mean, Kim developed this beautiful crosswalk that you have a copy of. And if we were able to just chug along through it the way that we had intended, we'd be done. But no sooner do we get through one series than Shipman is sending us a new policy on an old, right? On an old one because of changes to the law. So we end up having to constantly circle
Go
back.
back and forth.
Yeah.
Do we do two every time or do we do two new ones and then one review? Do we have
It depends on what. needs
Which
to be
one?
done.
Honestly, I would have added more. I didn't expect to get through this so quickly. I expected more discussion about this one about challenging coursework, but. So long.
We like challenge.
Well, we can go back, talk about it more. Jeff.
I was just curious how we do it.
We try to anticipate what, how quickly the
Right.
committee is going to be
Right,
able to
right.
work through. a
And
particular
sometimes we can have
policy.
2 or 3 and then 3 more that we just need to update because the law changed. So you just have to.
Yeah,
date
and
it
some
or
of them are so
whatever.
much more straightforward,
Sure.
if you've got one about the
Sure.
defibrillators, I mean, there's no
Another
conversation about that.
Right.
Exactly, but then something like this may have generated more conversation, it would have generated more conversation even a year ago, honestly.
Right.
It was here.
Exactly,
Sure, sure time.
exactly,
Other districts that facing the same struggle.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Good with me.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we look good compared to some.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we have a good, yeah.
We work on it. So
Yes,
great,
yes,
thank you.
you guys work
Okay.
hard.
I'm gonna start a good order. I'm gonna start with Mark.
It's all, indulge me a minute. We have a moment of triumph at the middle school today. Everybody was so panicked about the alarm going off today.
Oh, the 2.
And it was the talk of the school, talk of the kids. And I dreaded it all day. And only one phone went off. And it was mine.
Oh, wow.
Because I forgot about it and I threw it in my bag. And the moment passed and I was the only one who wrecked it. And so whatever's going on, that's a win for the pouches.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gotta be,
So I gotta get
put that in.
me my own pouch.
Then carry a copy.
Yeah, I think we need to
Yeah.
mention that at the full board meeting.
That's hilarious.
That's phenomenal.
That's
I
great.
was at the welcome back night and I met some new teachers. And I asked them how their experience was going in Torrington. Is it appropriate to mention this? And they said that the districts they came from were out of town and different diversity, we'll say, but one of the biggest things they left here was the pouches because there's not fighting the entire class
Mhm.
with students who are distracted watching Netflix. They didn't know who I was at the time. So it was just good to hear that and feedback that it's working.
Oh, that's
So thank you
great.
for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
We're out in the schools and you can attest to it every single day and have spent considerable time in the middle and high school. I haven't seen one phone. Not one phone in the hands of kids. I've seen some adult phones, but no phones,
That's great.
no kids with phones.
Thank you.
Great meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Good meeting.
Yeah.
Whole country of Britain's going to look at banning cell phones in schools. The Conservative Party is making it part of their agenda.
Interesting. I think I had read someplace that France did it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I think I did too.
we're ahead of the curve on this one. We're
Look
ahead
at that.
of the curve. But what I really want to say is thank you, Sue, for doing the groundwork on this and making a very efficient discussion possible because we're using pretty inefficient.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you for helping.
I will try that every time. What I have to do, honestly, and I'll tell you, if anybody really cares, but I would have done this for Marissa. I sent it to her without all this because I didn't have it done in time because I was pumping a foot of water out of my basement all the way down. But that's okay. That's all right. Next, it's gone.
He's got.
It's gone. Next time, we'll have all the edits done in advance.
Well, good to see. So that we can talk about it. So it's good to see that the edits and the not crossed off and that's, I appreciate that.
I'm gonna say goodnight, everybody, quick, because it just extends your streak to 4 straight meetings being faster than Jen.
It's true.
Thank you. Great meeting, everybody.
Great meeting.
Yeah,
Good.
Great meeting.
thank you. You did well and I will make sure I tell Kim. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy and John, 7:55.